Hey, how is everyone? I have listed the procedures for working with clay in your home for those of you who are fortunate enough to have a place to do that. But I thought maybe if I just did a quick visual example that might help clear up any misconceptions. So the first thing you want to do if you are fortunate enough to have a place to work is lay down your plastic drop cloth. And you want to do this in a way that when your table's on it, or you're sitting over it, you want to position it so that you're sort of centered under it. So it may mean you're picking your table up and scooting it under it. The idea is that you want to catch as much of the stuff that's falling off as possible. Okay, next you'll want to think about having some way to clean up. So I set up some sort of water station. I talked about the pre-rinse and the rinse, and so that's basically two buckets. They don't have to be this big, but basically one is the one I always put my hands in first, gets most of the dirt off, and then the second, it stays pretty clean, and I can use that water for all sorts of things. Okay, move this in a little bit more. Might want a chair. You're going to need some kind of board. And even before I put the board down, I might cover the whole table or my area of the table with some fabric, which will have different purposes, as we'll see later, or some newspaper, just to contain it, or a big piece of cardboard or something like that. All right, I need plastic to cover my work up. I want to have that standing by. I need, it's good to have a heavy-duty bag. This is a Ziploc. Just throw the scrap that is drying out that's too hard to put back in your bag of clay. Oh, clay, of course. Need some clay. I'm going to work with red just because I'm thinking it's going to be easier to see. And then I definitely like to have a little container on the table with water, either a sponge or a brush for that, for applying that. We'll talk more about tools in another video. I want to make this as quick as possible. And then I'm highly recommending that you either have a dedicated set of clothes or an apron, that you really think about keeping the clay out of your living space, even though you're working in your living space. So I'm going to put an apron on, and probably when I'm working here I'll have some I'm wearing some tennis shoes now, but I'll put some slip-on shoes that I can kick off easily when I'm done working. So I think I'm set up and ready to get to work. Right, we're back. So once you've finished making whatever you're going to make for the day and you need to get out of the way of your roommates or whatever, you're going to want to clean up. And I just want to make sure we've got the idea. You're going to spritz your plastic, wrap up, maybe spritz the piece a little bit depending, doesn't hurt. Wrap the piece up, put it away somewhere safe. And I mentioned in the handout also to watch out as you're cleaning up, like for the outside of your bag, the tops of the bags is you want to keep this wet. That clay is going to dry on there because it's a thin layer, and that's a great way to sort of spread clay dust everywhere. So I spritz that. Take this is my bag with my clay scraps. I'm just going to dump those in there, shovel them in there. Take your cleanup sponge and sponge everything down. I got this board with some fabric on it or canvas. I'm going to sponge that down right on my table. I'm going to take this covering and just dump all that stuff into my bag, or I can just fold it up on itself, get it out of the way, sponge your table, move this out of the way so that you can get your drop cloth off and sponge your drop cloth down. Go ahead then and rinse your hands off again, dirty first, clean second. I have a little towel I'm going to ride herd on, not let it get into the general population. And take off your clay clothes and put them someplace safe. Maybe just put everything in a paper bag and hide it. And you're out of the way, and the rest of the people in your house can work wherever you are working if they need to. All right, hopefully that helps clarify things.